And what do you say to that, John? Ireland is benefiting from immigration. We have tax receipts. We have our health services run hugely off the hard work of migrants. And indeed, it does remain something that most Irish people appear to be supportive of to some extent. And I know what you're saying about the protesters. But equally, just because they're not there may be people in Newtown, Mount Kennedy who feel fairly positive about, for all we know, about migrants coming to their community. We just don't see them out on the picket line or on the protest line.
Well, in relation to the first point about Irish people being positive about this, I think it's very important to say Irish people are and have been historically very positive about immigration. We've had massive immigration in this country since roughly 2004, when we signed the Nice Treaty, and large numbers of people, as we know, from Eastern Europe came to live here from the then accession states, places like Poland and Latvia and the Baltic states. This is different.
And have assimilated really well. That's fair, isn't it?
And it's absolutely fair to say. But, we've seen opinion poll after opinion poll over the last year, from Irish Times opinion polls to Sunday Business Post opinion polls, showing that somewhere around between 60 and 80% of people believe that we have now taken in too many migrants. And this is not a matter of, Emma mentioned language. This isn't a matter of race or bigotry. This is a matter of simple mathematics. If you listen to people in Killarney, for example, you've got businesses down there that are absolutely desperate because the hotel accommodation in that town, which is usually for tourists in the summer, has been almost entirely, I think something like 50% of their hotel accommodation has been usurped by the government against the wishes of the local businesses, the local community, to house migrants from various parts of the world, meaning that there is now no capacity in that town to take in tourists, which means that they're facing into a second consecutive summer of their businesses not getting the income they would have. Human-centred approach. I just want to make this point is really important here. When you talk about a human-centred approach, we're not centering actually Irish people in Irish communities and helping them integrate and helping them survive this crisis, which is why we're seeing this backlash. And that's why it feels like the government is at war with their people. It's not about racism or anything like that. It's about capacity.
You've made your point. Let me bring in Emma. Emma, what about that? What about the legitimate concerns that aren't rooted in racism or bigotry or any of those things by business owners, etc., and communities feeling unlistened to? Isn't there a danger if communities aren't listened to, that is what fosters and festers and I suppose creates a swing towards maybe more far-right elements, etc., because people do feel that they don't have a voice in this and they're concerned?
Well, I think, Ciara, just on that point, excluding, of course, the sort of racist element that does rear its head. I mean, if you take a cursory search at the Ireland is Full hashtag on Twitter, you will see a lot of racism evident in some of those comments. But looking at the issues here around the sort of government approach, personally, I think it's a disgrace that we have tented accommodation in Ireland. And the fact that there are over 100,000 people in some form of direct provision at the moment, that's 74,000 who are from Ukraine and 26,000 who are under international protection. So, of course, the majority of whom are Ukrainian refugees. I think that the government does have to address those issues in terms of how it processes asylum applications. That's a really important part here, because there shouldn't be that many that are waiting for their application to be approved or denied and then put into Irish society. The issues you talk there about the far right, look, we know in the UK the dangers of the far right with Brexit. And of course, there's a socioeconomic factor here. The far right weaponizes inequality, and there are significant class issues that do persist in Ireland. And there's a danger if the government does not address the undercurrent of socioeconomic deprivation that is, of course, being weaponized by the far right. So it does have to do something about those factors and then also tackle this misinformation.